Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and welcome to Girls Gone Hajj, Heart of Hajj series. I am Sultana Whitfield. I'm one of the founding members of Girls Gone Hajj, and we'd like to welcome you to this series. We're so excited to be bringing you another edition of this programming, and we're so excited about our guest, who is Nura Goodson. We'll get into a little bit more about her, but again, we're going to start off as we do everything with Al-Fatiha. So, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Alhamdulillah. Again, welcome to everyone. And again, I am Sultana Whitfield, who is one of the founding members of Girls Gone Hajj, and I'm going to actually pass it on to my other founding members for introductions, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Farida, and I think I'm turning it over to my next Hajja.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Saida, and welcome everyone.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Hanifa. Welcome to our edition of Girls Gone Hajj, Heart of Hajj series. I'm going to now introduce our esteemed guest, Nura Goodson. And let me just tell you a little bit about her. Nura Goodson is a long-distance runner who has always enjoyed running to stay fit. However, it was not until her early 30s that it became her passion and the catalyst of her life's work. Nura was born in Galveston, Texas, and moved to Atlanta, Georgia at the age of 7. She graduated from Tuskegee University, which a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering, and then went on to get her master's in Electrical Engineering from the University of Tennessee. After giving birth to her 2 sons, she decided to become a domestic engineer to spend quality time with them during their formative years. To deal with the challenges of motherhood, she regained her interest in running and joined a local track club and began competing in races. Nura's passion for running was reignited, but she discovered that there was a lack of representation of hijabi Muslim runners. In 2014, she founded Muslimah, a nonprofit organization with a mission to empower women to lead healthy and active lifestyles by providing opportunities for movement. These activities included running, cycling, swimming, hiking, as well as a Muslim tennis league. Muslimah seeks to build strong, healthy, and active communities. Nura has obtained her USA Track and Field Level 1 certification and a coaching certification. She has trained countless women and men to compete in a variety of distance races. She is working on relaunching her modest activewear clothing line called Covered Activewear. We are pleased to introduce our distinguished guest, Nura Goodson. So we'll get started with our first question. So Nura, we know that Hajj requires a great deal of walking. What would you say is an ideal preparation time for the physical demands of Hajj?
Okay, so Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I want to say that I'm very honored to be here. So with the first question, I have not made Hajj as of yet. So all of my answer to my question is going to come from my background with long distance running. And I think they go hand in hand together. So whenever you're planning for a race, and in this instance, planning for Hajj, you want to give yourself at least 3 to 4 months to prepare And that's usually how long we take to prepare for races. Now, with that being said, you also have to be aware of where you are at currently. That's just a generalization. So if you know it's a struggle for you to do daily activities, you want to give yourself at least 6 months. And even prior to that, it would be very helpful if you talk with your doctor, because one thing that comes up very frequently is when you start training for races, you're like super excited about getting your health back on track. And then something happens and you think it's the training, but it was something that was already there, and the increased activity then just brings it up to the forefront. So if you know you have been very sedentary, or you just struggle with day-to-day activities, walking upstairs, maybe walking to the from your car to the store, you want to check with your doctor, make sure everything is okay. And then with anything that we do, we progressively build, right? So at least 4 to 6 months, depending on who you are and your current activity level.
Okay, and so that brings me to the next part of our question. And could you tell us 2 or 3 activities that those who are unaccustomed to rigorous physical activities may begin to improve their endurance?
Yeah. So right off top, you want to start walking. You want to start walking on a daily basis. And you can start small with 15 minutes. And like I said, everything that we do, you progressively build. So you can start walking for 15 minutes every day, maybe 3 days a week. If every day is a lot for you, and you just keep building. Maybe I'm gonna add 5 minutes the next week. Maybe I'll add 10 minutes. Given the amount of walking that you have to do during Hajj, anywhere between 3 to 5 miles, even at a very slow pace. That's about anywhere between 1 to 2.5 hours of walking. So you just build up with time. So by the time you get to Hajj, you just be more accustomed with walking for maybe an hour at a time, 2 hours at a time, and you just slowly build up. And keeping in mind that sometimes we were training for races, we're training to run these distances without stopping, but you're going to be stopping throughout the day for rest too. So, but I would recommend starting to walk every day, starting with 15 minutes a week and progressively building up till you can withstand about anywhere between an hour to 2 hours of walking without stopping, because you never know what situation you would be in. Number one. The other activity that I would say that you should start doing is mobility exercises. And that's when you're taking your body through full ranges of motion. So you can think about yoga, but with mobility, that's like being able to control it as you take it through full ranges of motion. Like right now, we're all sitting in chairs, but that's not full range of our use of our legs. It's in the squatting position, right? And oftentimes we see other coaches very comfortable with squatting on the ground. They're cooking in the squatting position. They're resting on the side of the street in a squatting position. So just doing those things to take our body through full ranges of motion and being able to control it. So even if it's a yoga routine, some type of stretching routine or mobility routine, I follow someone named Kesa Fit, and I absolutely love her. So any type of stretching, mobility work to take your body through full ranges of motion. And the last activity is definitely strength training. Even with the walking and building the endurance, you have to be strong enough to sustain the walking. So building up your core, building up your legs, doing some form of strength training, whether it's HIIT workout, something fun that you like to do, bar, whatever it is, just getting strong. If it's just doing sit-ups after every salat, I like to do stuff like that. Maybe 5 push-ups after, salat. Like trying to just incorporate those things throughout your day, building up your strength. I have a pull-up bar, and I might have it in the place where I walk, and I just be like, up, jump up, let me do a pull-up, and then I go on with the rest of my day, So those 3 activities, increasing your walking daily, mobility, flexibility type of exercises, and strength training.
Thank you so much. And then the last part of that question is, are there any exercise apps or goal setting apps that you would recommend for intended Hajjis?
So So not necessarily goal setting apps. One thing that I think is important to find in the apps is just something to track your progress. So one that I use is Strava. That's what Muslimahs Endure use. We have a Strava club. And one thing that Strava does is first track your progress. So you can kind of see where you started and where you are on your journey. I think that's just a motivation within itself. Because you're like, you know what, I couldn't even walk. In 15 minutes, I couldn't even do a half a mile. And now you're looking maybe 3 weeks later, and in that same 15 minutes, you're walking a mile, so that just kind of keeps you motivated. So any type of tracking app, Strava, Runkeeper, Map My Walk, all those things are good. So anything that track your walks, and Strava in particular, because they have like a community. So you start having friends. And I know sometimes if I see, oh, sister so-and-so just ran 5 miles. Oh, let me get out there and get myself together, So it kind of shows all the activities. You can track your yoga there, your strength training. So it's just, I like tracking apps to use because I think they keep you motivated and you get to see your progress, which is an important part of your progress. Yeah.
That's perfect. Okay, our next question is, many people struggle with accountability when increasing their physical activity. So do you recommend a buddy system or some other way people can increase their accountability and their encouragement?
Yeah, so definitely the buddy system is good because I always like to say that we'll let ourselves down all the time. Like you said, I'm going to walk at 5 o'clock after I get off of work. It's like, maybe not today, but if Sister Sultana is waiting on you, you're definitely going to show up because you don't want to let her down. So the buddy system is like a great way to stay motivated and to stay connected. And it's funny that you asked that question because with Muslimahs Endure, we always have monthly health challenges. And this challenge is called the Accountability Challenge. So you actually have to grab a partner and just do 15 minutes of movement every day, and you have to check in or on your partner, right? So just to stay accountable. So that is so important sometimes to get that motivation or just to stay true to your goals. If you go on Muslimahs Endure, that's usually a weekly walk. So sometimes people are not finding that time, but they know every Sunday or every Saturday, I'm going to meet up with my sisters. Even if it's not with Muslimahs Endure, that's Black Girls Run. Like I promise you, there's a run group that's really close to you that will hold you accountable. And most of them are friendly to walkers, runner, wherever you're at. One thing that we do at Muslimahs Endure, we always run by time. We never run by miles. So we start together and we end together, and everyone gets what they need out there. Because sometimes some people need 10 miles and somebody needs 1 mile, and nobody want to ever feel like they're left behind. So we start out our journey in a walk, and then we end together. And you see, it's so beautiful because you see people just coming back together, and no one's ever waiting on anyone. So there's so many organizations out there, whether they're Muslim or not, that will give you that accountability that you need to meet up with a group or just that one person. Pull your sister in, So
We love that. I can attest to having a buddy system being very helpful. We did want to pivot to nutrition. Did you have any nutritional recommendations you'd suggest?
So
preparing for Hajj or other
definitely not a dietitian, not a nutritionist, but definitely can offer some advice on what we do as runners and walkers and endurance sports athletes. First off, cutting back on processed food and sugars, I think will help you prepare not only for races, but for the demand that your body will go through during Hajj when it's going to be really hot. So just increasing your intake of foods that come from the earth. I don't prescribe to any diet in particular. I'm not a big person that promote keto or a vegan lifestyle or anything like that. It's just eating those things that come from the earth, you usually be safe. And you usually get the things that you need, because a lot of it make a mistake with the food that comes straight from the ground. So things that I would definitely recommend that gives you the endurance that you need or give your body the stamina that you need to go longer distances. Slow releasing carbs. So starting your day with like oatmeal every morning, those slow release carbs allow you to keep the sugar that you need in your body without having those processed sugars. Sweet potatoes are a good one. Some of your rice is good too. I do a lot of rice and beans myself. So yeah, I think those are my nutrition recommendations without being a nutritionist.
Perfect. I think Saida has the next question.
So, Assalamu alaikum. So I'm gonna ask a question that I know you said you haven't made Hajj yet, but this could potentially the question could still pertain to making Hajj. So what's the best way to remain hydrated during exercise? And I'm gonna add and Hajj because we know that during Hajj is gonna be a lot of walking. It's hot, there'll be a lot of sun and stuff. So what do you think is the best way to remain hydrated?
So remaining hydrated definitely starts before the exercise or before you actually go on Hajj. So the same question that you asked me, how long do you think you need to prepare for Hajj? I said 4 to 6 months. Hydration need to start 4 to 6 months prior to you getting ready for Hajj. So what does that look like? Drinking your recommended amount of water daily, and that is typically half your weight in ounces. So a lot of times people say 8 ounces a day, but everyone needs something different. And you can be safe knowing that half your weight in ounces. So if you weigh 100 pounds, that's 50 ounces a day that you need to consume. And then that also changes with outside. So if you know you're sweating a lot, you want to increase that even more. If you're working out, you want to increase that even more. But that's a good number to shoot for. And remembering that you can get your water not just from drinking water. So increasing your intake of food that contains lots of water is a recommendation as well. We know like a lot of our fruits, our cucumbers, our watermelon, all those things that can have high water content is what you want to start consuming. And you don't want to start like, oh yeah, I'm going on Hajj next week. Let me go ahead and start drinking my water. You don't want to do that because it's so hot, and you want to make sure you're properly hydrated, and then you just take it in more as you need it while you're walking on Hajj. One thing that we do when we have really long races is we get these little camelbacks hydration systems, and we put it on our back, and we have that, so you can just put that little straw in your mouth and take those sips periodically, because you never want to guzzle your water. You want to sip, and you want to just kind of keep yourself hydrated that way. So those would be my recommendation for hydration. Hydration is so important. I think they say if you are starving, you want to take water instead of food, right? Because our body is 80–90% water. So even if you're not preparing for Hajj, you need to really be conscious of how much water and hydration you're taking in for sure.
Sister Nura, I have a funny story about hydration. So I started training for a half marathon in 2014. I trained outside. My sister went a year before me, and I was such a novice. I just like Googled how to start running, training.
Yeah.
So I trained outside. I started in August. The race was in, I think, October.
Okay.
Never hydrated while I was running. Never.
Oh, no.
Race day, there's water stations around the way. I'm like, this race is so easy. Why is this race so easy? It's nothing like how I train. There's bananas. That's because
you
during the race,
that.
I was doing what I was supposed to do when I.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I mean, obviously I'm better now, but so now when we train for 10Ks or 5Ks, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But so if we could just stress, hydration and eating those foods that will prepare you for Hajj, inshallah.
Yeah, those things are so important. Sometimes when you're just feeling a certain kind of way, you're feeling little energy. Sometimes it's just getting some water or, something like that, especially in races. I have a similar story. I was training for a marathon, and I had to do my 20-mile runs. It's a beautiful thing when you're training for a marathon. You can do it with your sister. So we did our long runs together. And it just so happened when I had to do the 20-mile run and the 22-mile run, I had to do them by myself. And I had these little, because you have to take your nutrition, like Sister Hanifa was saying, it's not an option. You have to, because your body, it gets depleted, and you have to give your body what it needs to continue on. So I was taking these little things called honey stingers that have sugar that you need, the electrolytes that you need. And I had my little packet, and I was just like sipping on my packet. And then I got to like mile 17. I was like, what's going on? I'm like praying. I'm like making dua. I'm like, all these thoughts are going through my head. I'm just like, why can't I finish this run? I like, can I just make it to that pole? And I couldn't make it. And I'll start walking. I was like, maybe long distance running is just not my thing. So I came back and I called everyone I knew that ran marathons, and they were saying, no, you need to take one of those packets every 3 miles, a full packet. I took one packet the whole the whole race. And I was like, oh, and then I didn't have any more training runs to try out my nutrition. The day of the race, like Hanifa, I stopped at every water stop. I took my packets, I sipped my water, and beautiful, beautiful race. So sometimes hitting that wall, that this might also happen in Hajj, when you're like, I just can't walk any further. And even if you know you prepare those 4 to 6 months prior to, maybe you need a little bit more sugar, maybe you need a banana, maybe you need some type of carbs to help you along. And the unfortunate thing is you need to take those carbs in prior to you feeling that way. You need to keep your sugar level up to sustain that activity level and keep your hydration up. Because sometimes when it happens and you feel that wall, which you might find in Hajj, because we find it in long distance races, you should have started prior to doing it. Because when you hit that wall, then you're starting from the back, and you have to take more before you start feeling better. So starting that day, making sure you have some little stuff. I used to take dates when I run too, put a little salt for the electrolytes, and I used to eat the dates for the sugar, because they have the potassium, they have all the things that you need. So if you have dates during Hajj, that's a good way to keep your the carbs and the sugar that you need to sustain your activity level.
Wow, I never thought of dates. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. And then you can pack those very easily in whatever gear you have. I love that.
You can also find them easily at Hajj as well. They have dates all over the place. Yeah.
All right, Hanifa has the last question. I can ask if, okay. So we just wanted to discuss the importance of wearing the proper shoes for training and during Hajj. Obviously, we know like people have a propensity toward whatever thing they like I'm an Asics girl, I'm a Nike girl, whatever, but just talk about, if you can, the importance of proper footwear, please.
Yeah, so having proper footwear is so important. Sometimes you might feel some pain going on somewhere in your body. You're like, why is my knee hurting? Why is this hurting? Why is that hurting? It's because maybe you don't have the proper shoes on. And I get this question a lot. Which one do you like? Nike? You like this? Should I wear Asics? Should I wear Brooks? And the answer depends on you. So it depends on how you walk, your stride, the way your foot lands on the ground. So what I would always recommend is that you go to your local run store, and you have those everywhere. So you go in and you ask them for a gait analysis, and they will put you on a treadmill, and they would take pictures, or they would look at how you walk, how your foot lands. They'll look at how you run, if that's what you want them to do. And then they will give you recommendations on a shoe that works for you. You try those shoes on, and then you walk around in a couple of them and see how that feels for you. And sometimes, and you're walking in your running shoes, just like tires, they wear out. So somewhere between 300 to 400 miles, you want to replace them. And that's where those tracking apps come in, because most tracking apps, you can say, this is the shoe that I have, and this is how much I've been walking. Every time you put a walk in there, it keeps track of it. So sometimes I'm feeling something, I'm like, oh man, why is that hurting? I take my shoe, I turn it over. I was like, oh, it's time for me to replace it. Because just like a tire, you see the tread running out. So if you're uncomfortable when you walk and you run, you shouldn't feel that at all. So you want to go in and just get that test, even if you don't feel like you're a runner. Like, I hate when people say that, I'm not a runner. You know, like, if you get out there and you're moving, then you're a runner. So you want to get out there and protect yourself. So go get that test. It's free. The shoes are expensive. So what I do is I go in, I try them on, and I'm like, oh, okay, do you have an older version? If they don't, I go look for the older version online so I can get them cheaper. But I do recommend you trying them on in the store, seeing what you like and what brand works well for your foot and your gait pattern.
I agree. It's like getting a bra fitting in Nordstrom's and you leave, you know, go somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, I would not underestimate having a good pair of running shoes. It's so important, and it can make life so much more comfortable for you. Because oftentimes I hear people, I don't like running, I don't like walking, but the things that you do don't facilitate you liking walking or running, because it causes so much pain. Because a lot of times when you get out there and you walk and you run, you want to get out there like the same boat and just take off, because oftentimes that's what you imagine runners do, and that's absolutely the opposite. 80% of our runs are slow throughout our training cycle. 80% are way slower than you could possibly run. And that's what you want to do. Just take it slow, take it easy. We call it conversational running, conversational walking. If you can't stand next to your sister or walk next to your sister and hold a conversation, you're going too fast. So you want to slow down, because what you want to do is make sure you're getting enough oxygen in and breathing, and that makes things easier. You hear it all the time when you're stretching or you're in a HIIT class or you're doing sit-ups, we want to hold our breath, but they like breathe through it. And that's the same thing with running. If you like, you need to slow down and breathe through it, even if you have to take it to a walk. So yeah.
Thank you for saying that. The first half I did, I went into a running store and I was like, I just felt like an imposter. But I trained half of it with the wrong shoe. And then I went in there and then I was like, this is like a new world to have the right shoe.
Yes.
And then I was working with a sports medicine doctor one time. He said, if you can't do that, you step out on your bath towel and like whatever imprint your feet make, that you can tell whether you turn your feet in or outward, and just tell the people that. But I was like, by then, you know, they put you on the treadmill or whatever. So thank you for saying that. Was Hanifa gonna say something? I thought you were unmuted yourself.
Also, yes, sometimes after I take curcumin or turmeric for any, swelling that may occur. I'm a little older now than I was when I first started running. So also, what is not the Bengay? What's the other one we use?
Arnica.
Yes. So sometimes I rub that on my knees before I take my biocurcumin and get going. So there's, you will feel it when you get back, but you can, definitely reduce swelling, and also staying away from foods that promote swelling, like the nightshades, the peppers. That's helpful as well, Michelle.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. They definitely help with the inflammation. So any type of turmeric supplement pill that you can find, and the arnica, they even have arnica that you can take internally to help with that. But also, like, I don't stress it enough, the stretching and the strength training will also help with those type of pains that you feel. So as you talk about building up and being able to walk, and especially you want to be able to build up and walk without pain. So strength training is like the foundation of your running. And then the stretching and the mobility work is your injury prevention for sure. So without those, those three should not be separated. And oftentimes, what I tell Muslimah Endure members at the runs is like, if you have to cut your run down because you don't have the time, so you can fit in that warm up and that cool down that includes those stretching and that strength training, do that, because your body will thank you later for sure, especially as we begin to age. We can get away with that back in the day, but now when we get up in the morning, we're gonna feel everything. And those mobility exercises are like heaven to your body when you're beating it up on the pavement.
Can you suggest a good YouTube or a good app for those type of mobility exercises?
Case of Fit. So that's KAISA Fit, FIT.com. She has Instagram, probably Facebook, but I follow her on Instagram, and she has a YouTube channel, and you can have a membership to her program. Like I'm a member of her program, and she's doing like a 30-day mobility challenge right now. But Case of Fit is one person I definitely recommend, and she takes you through like all these wonderful movements in your body, and you can, if you're just consistent with that 15, like she have 40-minute workouts, whatever you need. If you're just doing those consistently, like your body will be like, alhamdulillah, thank you so much, for sure.
You. I had another question too. So we're talking about heat. What are some of the best fabrics to wear during the heat and while you're working out?
For sure.
You
You
know,
want to have some breathable fabric, and you want to have some dry fit moisture wicking. Dry fit is Nike's name for moisture wicking. So something that dispels the moisture as it gets on your body. So like polyester blends are really good fabrics to wear when you're working out on for Hajj too. So I think I remember one sister had went to Hajj. She had her dress made, with those type of like workout fabric. So if you can do that, because you have to bring your white dress for Hajj. So if you can find some white moisture wicking, dry fit, polyester blend fabric, I think you'll thank yourself and your hijab, all of it.
awesome. Now tell us about getting into fabric. So you have a modest clothing company. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so definitely it came from a problem with us running. It's like, I know you guys know when you're trying to work out, like, what do I wear? Either I go big and it's like baggy, or I try to keep it cute and small, and I gotta layer like crazy. So with Muslimah Endure and us just trying to find what worked for us, and we really couldn't find anything. My mom is a seamstress, so she started making all of our shirts. So we do a race called the Wild Run, and like most races, you get a free T-shirt. So with the Wild Run, you get a free T-shirt, but it's a modest active wear shirt, so it goes longer than most shirts. So that's kind of how it started with me and my mom. And alhamdulillah, sometimes you don't know what it takes to do something when you start it, because if you knew, you wouldn't do it. That's kind of how it is, but it's because I'm not a designer. But I'm really appreciative that me and my mom started it, because it just started as a solution for Muslimah Endure. But this past year, I decided to kind of take it a little bit more seriously and actually develop a clothing line with many more options for us out there, with me and my mom and my sister lens of what we think is cute and functional. And that was the main thing for us, because I'm an athlete and I want to be able to be modest and look cute in my own way. So that's kind of where it came from. And before, my mom was like literally making every single shirt. But now we're like teaming up with manufacturers overseas and looking for manufacturers here and things like that. So it's an exciting journey, and I'm excited about what we have in store for the Muslim women community. But it's a process for sure.
So,
Rita and I offered to be your test pilots
Oh, for sure. We definitely
because
need the feedback.
we're always at like Kohl's. We're getting the long sleeve shirts and the short. Oh my
Yeah.
God. So yeah.
So like for now we just do the shirts, like most of all the Muslimah Endure shirts that you see, the longer shirts, those are definitely shirts that's made by Covered Activewear.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay.
we have a couple of modest ones now. So if you go to muslimahendure.org, there's some that you'll see have our logo on the front. This is one of them. And then on the back, it usually say like, I run for me, I walk for me, I ride for me, or something like that.
Nice.
oh, perfect. That's so wonderful. I can't, I know this is so wonderful, but I have to mention, and congratulations to you and your team for completing a triathlon. I think you did 2 triathlons. Can you
So
just go through
I
that?
bowed out
Yeah.
of the second one, but our sisters, Nafisa and Naima, they went on and they did the second one. They were the only 2 to represent Muslims Endure for that, and they did awesome in those races. But it was the first one that we did together was it's about 7 or 8 of us that did that, and that was really fun and special. I had trained with Khadija Diggs on a personal level. I had signed up for her program, and Khadija Diggs is the first Muslim woman to represent USA for a triathlon, and she's just a dope athlete. And she decided that she wanted to increase the representation of Muslim women and women of color in triathlon. So she started a program called This. So I signed up to train with her under that program, and then whatever she was feeding to me, I was then feeding to some of the women of Muslims Endure. And it was a really good experience because in February I couldn't swim. Like I'm saying this out loud now. I run a women's only swim program, but I can't swim. So I started to learn how to swim. And I'm honestly still on my journey to perfecting my swimming because I did the whole triathlon on my back. Um, but alhamdulillah, I was able to get on the bike and run and catch up because those my things on land. So, but it was a great moment for you to know where you started and then where you ended, even though someone looking at me be like, oh, that's so cute. But it was for me, I couldn't even float. I didn't even understand the concept of like, how do you keep your body up? And just the fear that comes with it as learning how to swim as an adult. You bring a lot of baggage with you. And then just doing it with your sisters, I think that was the main thing because we all brought our own fears where we was able to relate to each other, number one, but then also calm those fears and see each other on the course and just like boot each other on. So it was a wonderful experience. And Nafisa, she's going to head up a campaign that we're doing for next year. We're trying to get 100 women. It's called Quest 100 to compete in their first multi-sport activity. So it can be a triathlon, it can be a duathlon, which is just a bike and a run, or it can be an aqua bike, which is a swim and a bike. So when it comes to the world of multi-sports, it's not just triathlons, but it's doing multiple sports at one time. And we want to try to increase, along with what Khadijah's already doing, increase our presence in that space. So we're trying to get at least 100 women to complete their first one next year.
That is awesome. That's
Goals.
incredible.
Hashtag
Goals.
goals.
Hashtag goals.
Hashtag y'all gonna be there.
Yes, right.
Hashtag y'all gonna be one of the 100.
Right. We do have some questions. We want to open up the mics. So if you have a question, come on your mic and you can ask the question. I do see some questions in the comments, so we can go through those as well. But if you do have a question, come off your mic.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Hassan. An excellent presentation, sister. Yes, Satana.
How are you, Hassana?
Alhamdulillah, I'm doing good. You know what? I just started walking because I just hurt my head not too long ago, and I got better. I was right on the track. My question is, what type of sneakers do you recommend that sisters try to go out and get that's not too expensive, right? When we just start out, inshallah.
So I think I'm gonna give you the answer that you have to find what works well for your foot and the way that you walk. So what I would recommend for you to do is just find a local store and go in and try on those shoes, get the gait analysis test. Just tell them, hey, I'm trying to find a good fit for me. Could you go ahead and test my gait? And they're going to look at how you walk, how you run, whatever you want to do, and they'll look how your foot lands, and they'll recommend a couple of shoes that work well for you. Try those shoes on and tell them thank you very much, and leave out the store without buying, because they can be anywhere between $120 to $200 for a pair of walking shoe. But believe me, you can search online for that shoe that you put on your foot and you absolutely love, and you can find an older version of it online. I spend about $50, $60, $70, and per shoe when I find it online. Honestly, I started spending a little bit more for my shoe because I like to run in a shoe called On, and it's a newer shoe for me, and I really like it. So I'm on my second or third pair for that shoe. So, but honestly, you just have to find a shoe that worked for me. Someone would swear on Brooks, and you put on a pair of Brooks, and you be like, baby, my feet hurt. But you gotta find something that really works for you and how you move. So going into that local run store, and it's as easy as Googling local run stores and finding something that's close to you. Go in there, and they will hook you up for sure. That's one.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam, Fatima.
I'm driving, but I've been here. This is a very, very informative session. I really do appreciate it. My question was, for somebody that is on meds for hypertension, do you recommend that they start training way ahead of 6 months, or just enough to get your your blood pressure at a a reasonable rate, so that you're able to offer Hajj your basic health?
Yeah. So with that, I definitely recommend more than six months. Honestly, as soon as you know you're going to Hajj, if that's a year later, if you're making intentions to make it in 2 years, I say start right away, because it's only going to just improve your life, right? Only going to improve your well-being. So if you know you have challenges, you're on medication, I say the earlier you can start, the better. But I would highly recommend you start talking with your doctor too about what your plans are. I want to start walking, and I want to start increasing my activity level and get their buy-in and their recommendations as well.
Okay. All right. Shukran.
Afwan.
Thank you. Anyone else who has an open question? Okay, I don't know if there were questions in. I don't know how to see questions that need to.
I had a question, and I'm not sure if you've seen this as well, Nura. Some people get, as their bodies start to warm up quicker than the temperature outside, they start getting itchy. Have you seen that a lot?
Yeah.
I know taking a standard antihistamine can help with that, but have you seen that?
So I don't know if the histamine will work, because what's happening, that usually happens when you haven't been active in a while. So what happens is you have your capillary veins, and they start to shrink when you're not working out or you're not really using them. And when you start that activity level, now your blood is rushing. Now you're kind of moving fast, so your blood is going fast through these really, really small veins, which causes that itching sensation. So the way that really helps is just to continue on with your activity level, and as your body be like, oh, this person is working out. Oh, this person needs me to expand a little bit more. Your veins are going to get a little bigger, and while the blood is rushing through, it have enough space, and it's no longer causing that itching sensation. People tell me that all the time. They're like, I like to run, but I start itching when I run. But you just got to give your time to get past that itching. That has happened to me before too, and I'm like, and the more you scratch, the more itchy you become, and you just kind of bear through it until you're out there a couple of times. And that would usually go away. If it don't go away, go see your doctor.
Nora, if I can add to that, so that was the issue with me which is why I always shied away from running. And we actually sought out a sports medicine doctor, and he diagnosed it as sports-induced hives. So I just take.
Were you actually getting hot? Would you actually getting stuff?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's different.
Yes.
Okay.
But he said to combat that, also that itching you were talking about, you can take antihistamine, Zyrtec, Claritin 30 minutes before, and that's the only way I can actually train or anything.
So that even happens to you now?
Oh yeah.
Oh, so I think that might be something different.
So yeah,
sure.
this is sports induced hives,
Okay.
but it is effective. My aunt gets it too, and it's effective for just like that itching. Just if you take a Zyrtec 30 minutes before you start an activity, it helps.
Yeah, and I guess a good way to kind of see if it's not what you're going through is like if it does not go away. That's like if it doesn't go away, then go see your doctor, because normally it happens, to some people, that itching when you have low activity level and then you start to increase it. But honestly, for me, but I am rather active, so it may be that one time and I haven't been running in a while, it happens, and the next time I'm good. But give yourself like a week or so, 3 weeks max. If you're still feeling it, go see a doctor and figure out if it's something more.
Walaikum. Hey, I have a quick question. On the sneakers, should you wear a sneaker that tie up or Velcro? Because from my understanding, when you're doing tawafs, it's not a good idea to bend down to try to tie a sneaker if you have on sneakers. So I'm just saying, because if that happened to me, I'm gonna be one sneaker on and one sneaker off, because I'm gonna leave the sneaker.
I don't know a lot of running shoes that are Velcro on it, but one cool thing that I learned from doing triathlons is they have these shoelaces called no tie. I have to get you the name of it, so maybe you can post it. Lock set laces or something like that, and you put them in and you never have to tie them ever again. And that helps out when you're like in triathlon and you're transitioning to your like coming in, putting your shoes on to go for a run. You don't have to tie them. And they have this cool little thing where you just put them in place and you lock them and you don't tie your shoe again. But you have to take out the shoelaces that come with your shoe. You use this little system. I want to say it's called No Lock or Lock Set or something like that. But I can get you the name of it so you can post it to your followers.
Okay,
great. They sell those at hiking stores too. It just locks your strings in place. It's pretty cool.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
And to Sister Naja, you don't want to stop doing a tawaf.
I know.
This is so wonderful. Sister Linda, did you have a question? Okay, saw your name pop up. Okay, did we have any more? Wa alaikum salam.
For Sister Naja, the last time I went was in 2018, and I noticed that some of the sisters were wearing like ballet shoes when they were making their tawafs, especially when you go from Marwa to Safa, because you have big bricks and little bricks which can't hurt your feet. But the sisters were wearing the ballet shoes, and that kind of like gives you a little bit of cushion on your feet when you're making your tawafs, inshallah.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Even though I haven't made Hajj, I would like to interject if that's what you're planning on wearing, I would say test it out prior to
support.
So if that's what you choose to wear, like whatever you want to wear, I would highly recommend that's what you kind of train in. Because we one thing about runners, we never try nothing new out on the day of. So you want to test out whatever footwear, whatever clothing you choose to wear to make sure it's comfortable for you. And the same thing with your shoes. So try it out, inshallah.
Also, if you're taking any Hajj classes, they typically do a mock Hajj where they simulate what you do. I know we did here in Jersey, we had it. I know Brother Ghani does it. Hajj Pros does it out of Atlanta. So you can get to see, and they, tell you where what you would wear, the same shoe. So that's a good test as well.
And even on the same surface, so like the water be like a marble surface versus like a concrete surface. You need to test out different types of surfaces.
Haja, your connection was shaky. Haja Sultana. Okay. Anybody else? Any other questions we have for anybody else?
I do have a question for Sister Nura. Are there any chapters of Muslimah in Dora like nationwide? Because
Yeah, this year we just started a new chapter. So like right now we have sisters in LA, Houston, we have Philly, DC. We had someone in New Jersey. We couldn't get a lot of activity out there in New Jersey. So we have plans of opening up. Yeah, Habiba was in New Jersey for sure. So we have plans of like just kind of expanding that a little bit more. So if anybody is interested in leading wherever they are, that is what we're looking for. It's not about being fast. It's not about being an athlete. It's about being consistent. And that's what we're looking for, someone to consistently show up even when others don't show up. So if you have the time, a lot of them, like if I ask, like, why do you be calling them Musaidas? And Musaida is just a support, a helper or aid. So why do you want to be Musaida? Some of them just for the accountability that you talked about. So if I'm leading the group, if the group knows that I'm going to be here, then it will make sure that I put in the work, right? And I show up each week. And at least I know I'm doing it once a week. So a lot of them, and that's how Muslims in Nura got started, like come from this selfish place, but it's not really selfish because then you're including everyone else. And then when, I run for me, it's like I am running for me, but I'm also running for my community as well. But when we put ourselves first, then we can show up in all those other wonderful ways, using all those hats that we have, mother, co-worker, whatever the case may be. So we're always looking for new Musaidas around the country to show up for themselves and for others.
Right, so it looks like we don't have any more questions. I want to take this time. This is our customary plug for Study Al-Islam, which is a weekly program put on by Sister Fitra Muhammad, studyalislam.com, Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, visit girlsgonehajj.com to purchase apparel as well as see what else is going on, to follow us on Instagram, Facebook. And our next sessions will be scheduled in January, March, and May. We also have a June send-off, a virtual June send-off. And hopefully our May session will be, one of our other March or May will be will preparation, just in case people need that. You should have that before you go to Hajj if possible. And we will also have probably in the spring a session on how to pack for Hajj, videos, and we will also be live for that one. So I think we can close out with Asr, if possible. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wal-'asr, innal insana lafi khusr, illa alladhina amanu wa amilu s-solihat wa tawasaw bil-haqq wa tawasaw bis-sabr.
And we just want to thank Sister Nura for her time.
Alhamdulillah.
Follow her on Muslimah's Endure. I mean, it is so inspiring. You see all these Muslimahs and triathlons, and so just follow her on Instagram. You're on Facebook, yes?
Facebook, Instagram. Yeah.
Facebook, yes. Okay. Let's get moving, Muslimahs.
Join the
Yeah.
accountability challenge. It started on the 11th, right?
Yeah, it started on the 11th.
Okay,
Yep.
buddy up and do it. Let's go.
Thank you all.
Thank you, ladies.
Welcome.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you.
That's why